She walked into that gym every morning with discipline, pride, and purpose. But one night, that same discipline became a weapon used against her. When police stormed in, Maya Johnson, one of the city's most respected trainers, was handcuffed, humiliated, and accused of a crime she didn't commit. Cameras caught everything, but the truth was twisted before it reached the headlines. What really happened that night? And how did a woman known for building strength end up fighting a system designed to break her? Before her name became a headline, Maya Johnson was simply known as the woman who never quit. Every morning, before the city of Atlanta came alive, she was already in the gym, lifting, training, pushing limits most people only dreamed of. To her clients, she wasn't just a trainer, she was a force of nature. Her strength inspired confidence, her presence demanded respect. But beneath her calm focus was a woman who knew what it meant to be judged before being understood. In a city that praised fitness but questioned her power, Maya had learned to move with quiet grace. She'd built her reputation from the ground up, training athletes, helping young women find strength beyond the mirror. For her, every rep, every drop of sweat was a declaration, "I belong here." But not everyone saw it that way. To some, her confidence was defiance. Her muscles, her pride, became a challenge to fragile egos that couldn't stand a woman, especially a black woman, being stronger, louder, and unafraid. She ignored the whispers, the stares, the subtle jokes that cut deeper than they sounded. She had goals, and no amount of bias could slow her down. Or so she thought. Because one ordinary evening, after closing hours, when the gym floor fell silent and the city outside dimmed to a hum, everything changed. In a place built for strength, Maya was about to face the kind of test no workout could prepare her for. A test of justice, dignity, and survival. The gym had always been Maya's sanctuary, a place where effort meant progress, where results spoke louder than opinions. But lately, the air inside had changed. It started with small things, questions that didn't sound like questions. Are you sure you're qualified to train men that size? You ever think your muscles are too much? It was subtle at first, the kind of bias that hides behind polite smiles. Then came Derek Lawson, the new gym manager, a man with authority, but not enough maturity to handle a woman like Maya. He'd walk past her sessions just to interrupt, criticize, or laugh in front of clients. His words were always disguised as advice, but the tone made it clear. They weren't equals. Still, Maya stayed focused. She told herself that professionalism would protect her. But professionalism only works when respect exists, and Derek had none. One evening, while closing up, she noticed her locker slightly open. Inside, her protein container had been emptied and replaced with chalk dust. She stared at it, heart pounding, knowing it wasn't an accident. The next day, her schedule was mysteriously changed. Her clients reassigned without explanation. It was control. Quiet, calculated control. Her friends at the gym warned her to keep her head down. "You don't want trouble, Maya," one whispered. "You know how this place is." But that's the problem. She did know. She knew exactly how easily black women were painted as aggressive, emotional, or angry, just for defending themselves. And so, she kept quiet, until the night everything went too far. It was Friday. Late, quiet, only a few people left on the floor. Maya was racking weights when Derek approached. "You ever think about toning down a bit?" he said, leaning too close. "You're making some of the guys uncomfortable." She ignored him, but he didn't stop. His eyes scanned her arm as she lifted another barbell. "Damn," he muttered, reaching out to grab her bicep. "That's not normal strength for a woman." She froze, muscles tense, not from pride, but from disgust. "Don't touch me," she said, her voice steady but low. He smirked. "Relax. You people are always so defensive." Those two words, "you people," hung in the air like a slap. Maya backed away, shaking with anger. For the first time, she felt unsafe in the one place she'd built her peace. That night, she sat in her car long after closing, staring at the reflection of flashing streetlights across the gym's glass doors. Her body was strong, but her spirit felt cracked. She knew what came next. If she reported him, she'd be labeled a problem. If she didn't, he'd push harder. So she did something else. She prepared. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya started documenting everything. Every comment, every incident, every look that crossed a line. She kept a small voice recorder tucked into her bag, capturing every word. Then came the breaking point. It was a busy Monday morning when Derek called her out in front of everyone, accusing her of unprofessional behavior. She stood silent, letting him talk, knowing the recorder in her bag was running. When he grabbed her arm again, mocking her strength, she pulled away, just as another employee shouted. Phones came out. Cameras rolled. But by the time police arrived, the story had already changed. Derek told them she attacked him, that she became violent when corrected. And in a world where bias speaks louder than truth, that was all they needed. Handcuffs clicked around her wrists before she even finished explaining. Her clients yelled in protest, but the officers didn't care. To them, she was just another angry black woman causing trouble. As they led her out, the gym fell silent. The woman they once admired, the one who built others up, was now being dragged out in shame. But Maya wasn't done. Not yet. Because while the world saw an arrest, she saw something else. The start of her fight for justice. The echo of handcuffs clinking against her wrists felt louder than the police sirens outside. The floor where she'd taught hundreds of people to believe in themselves had turned into a stage of humiliation. Cameras flashed, voices murmured, but no one stepped forward. Maya's heart pounded, not from fear, but disbelief. This can't be happening, she thought. But it was. Her reputation, her dignity, her years of work, all reduced to a lie in seconds. Outside, flashing red and blue lights painted her skin in alternating shadows. Justice and injustice colliding in a cruel rhythm. Derek stood at the doorway, arms crossed, pretending to be the victim. She got violent, he told the officers again, voice trembling just enough to sound believable. And they believed him. Maya tried to speak, but her words vanished under their commands. Ma'am, step back. Stop resisting. The same lines she'd seen on the news 100 times, now aimed at her. Phones recorded every second. Some viewers would call it shocking. Others would call it justified. But the truth lived in her silence. The silence of a woman who knew exactly why this was happening. At the station, she sat in a cold room under fluorescent lights, wrists sore, eyes burning. An officer slid a paper across the table. Sign here, he said. Assault on a manager. She looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. Did you even ask for my side? He didn't answer. Hours passed. Her phone buzzed endlessly. Friends, clients, the gym community, all trying to understand how the woman who lifted everyone else up could suddenly fall this hard. But then, just as her faith began to crack, a familiar voice cut through the noise. Her lawyer, a former client, walked in holding a file and a phone. You recorded everything, right? Maya nodded slowly. He pressed play. The room filled with Derek's own voice. The insults, the taunts, the racial slurs, every word she'd endured now echoing in front of law enforcement. And in that instant, everything shifted. The moment Derek's voice filled that interrogation room, everything changed. The officers who once dismissed her sat frozen, realizing the truth had been in front of them all along. The same words that once humiliated Maya now became her justice. Within hours, she was released. No apologies, no explanations, just silence and shame lingering in the air. The next morning, the video leaked. The audio recording spread like wildfire. News stations picked it up. and the city that once ignored her now chanted her name. Maya's story traveled across the country, not because she was a trainer or a bodybuilder, but because she had stood up in a world that tried to silence her strength. The gym suspended Derek within 24 hours. A week later, he was fired. Statements were issued, investigations launched, but Maya knew this wasn't about one man. It was about a system that believed her pain only after proof. She didn't return to that gym. Instead, she opened her own Rise Studio, a space where women of color could train without judgment, where strength wasn't mocked, but celebrated. On the wall above the mirrors, she painted a single line: "Strength isn't what you show. It's what you survive." Her story inspired others, trainers, nurses, students, mothers, to share their own. Because Maya's battle was never just about muscles or fitness, it was about reclaiming the right to exist without apology. And while she found peace, the memory of that night never fully faded. It served as a reminder that in America, justice often waits for proof when it should start with belief. So the next time someone questions why black women speak with fire, or why they fight so hard to be heard, remember Maya. Remember her silence turned weapon, her pain turned power, and her arrest turned revolution. Because when strength finally speaks, the world has no choice but to listen. Don't miss more powerful real-life stories. Hit subscribe now.